Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. My name's King, and in this guide we'll be breaking down exactly what lurking is and how to do it effectively to help your team. Lurking is a role in Valorant that a lot of players struggle with because many players don't understand what the real purpose of a lurk player is. Many players believe lurking means just playing the game away from their team, which oftentimes results in players who will just bait the entire round and then justify it by saying they were lurking. The truth is, an effective lurk isn't just playing away from the team, and oftentimes it's not even intended to be a quiet role. Lurking effectively can be difficult, and it can take a lot of attention and self-awareness to understand when your lurk is being effective and when it's time to stop lurking and regroup with your team. But don't worry. We're going to make it easy for you in this guide as we break down how many professional players lurk in their matches so we can help you become a better player. As I mentioned earlier though, there seems to be a lot of confusion in the community, especially in lower ranks, on what exactly it means to be a lurker. Now honestly, there are a number of different ways you can be effective with a lurk, so it's important to understand what they are and also understand the strengths and weaknesses of them. The most common thing you probably see at lower ranks is when a lurker plays completely silent. They're not really sitting in any strong positions to cut off rotates or taking territory on the map, they're just sort of existing. If in your experience this is what you normally see from someone who is lurking, then I apologize to you. You see, lurkers can do a lot of different things, but the most effective things you'll see them do are cutting off common rotation points, denying enemy info, as well as causing distractions for your team. Another thing lurkers do is they provide your team with options and information throughout the round. Oftentimes the lurker will do things like grab territory on certain parts of the map and listen for rotates. If you hear players rotating, or if you manage to get a pick while grabbing territory, it opens up the possibility for your team to play around that pick and maybe switch up their plan. But now that we've established what lurking is, what agents are good at lurking? The truth is, any agent can lurk effectively, and sometimes even the ones you'd think would be worst at it end up being the best. You'd think a character like Brimstone should spend most of his time with his team, and you'd be right in assuming that. However, that's going to make it even more effective when for one round, Brimstone decides to try and sell a fake on a site alone. This isn't to say that Brimstone is a good lurk character though, it's just to say lurking isn't exactly a role that one specific player or character does exclusively. That being said, the characters that you will find lurking the most often are Cypher, Killjoy, Omen, Viper, and Yoru. The reason Cypher and Killjoy are good at lurking is because their utility is not generally needed when entering sites. It's much better for watching flanks. The reason you wouldn't want a Breach or a Brimstone lurking is because his team is generally going to need their smokes or flashes to enter a site. However, a Killjoy turret isn't going to do nearly as much to help you get onto a site, so it's not as necessary that she is always with the team. What makes Yoru good at lurking then though? Because Yoru can create footsteps to pull attention from the enemy team and use his teleport to regroup with this team, he can oftentimes make a pretty effective lurk. However, it's important to remember Yoru is still a duelist, and that means oftentimes he is going to be needed to enter sites for his team, so if you don't have another duelist on your team, it may be a good idea to let somebody else lurk and pick up the entry role for your team instead. Cypher is one of the strongest agents for this, but you can honestly do it with any agent who has smokes or even oftentimes flashes. To deny an enemy information, generally what you want to do is force them off of any aggressive angles they could be holding at the beginning of the round. A specific spot you'll see players do this a lot is on Haven A long. Cyphers oftentimes use their cage here to deny vision, but you can honestly do it with jet smokes, really any smoke, or even flashes do the trick. Just anything you can use to force this player on long back will deny a lot of info. What this does is it denies the player on long info of if your team has crossed short or not. This will oftentimes make them have to play more safely on site, making it more difficult for them to tell exactly what your team is doing in the round. This tactic is usable on pretty much every map in different spots, and just by understanding the concept of denying information, you'll improve your lurk game by an incredible amount. Now that we've established what a lurker is though, and what agents are good at it, let's take a look at a few rounds from 100 Thieves player Steel as he plays an effective lurk during his competitive games. Before we break down his plays though, if you're serious about improving, be sure to head on over to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system. We have up-to-date lineups for agents, courses on all the mechanics needed to win more gunfights, Smurf commentaries where a high-ranked player walks you through how to carry in your rank, and so much more. Come join over 500,000 satisfied members of SkillCapped, improve that KDA, and get that rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. Now, the first round we're going to be taking a look at from Steel, he's playing Killjoy over on B site split. As the round starts, you'll notice he sets up his turret to watch the flank and throws a swarm grenade to stop any sort of aggressive B push. The reason he would throw this swarm while lurking is to prevent enemies from taking control of B tunnels. If the enemies peek into B tunnels and see that nobody is there, they will likely assume that it's going to be an A push and quickly rotate in an attempt to defend. By creating pressure in B tunnels, Steel can hope to attract enemies' attention and potentially keep a player occupied while his team takes A site. Now, you'll notice Steel's team decides to execute very quickly into A, forcing him to adjust his playstyle. If Steel were to sit in B main and continue to apply pressure there, he'd likely end up being useless for the entire round as his team is already entering A site. He needs to match the pace of his team, so he doubles back to lurk towards mid, attempting to cut off any players who may try for a quick rotate through vents. From this position, he is able to find an easy kill on the enemy Raze player, and now he is faced with a decision. Steel could either decide to push up through mid and attempt to flank through vents, or he could go back through sewers and regroup with his team more safely. Knowing that pushing through vents would be a riskier decision since he has already been spotted in mid, Steel decides that he has already gotten one kill on the round, and it is a better decision to take the safe route and regroup, finishing off the round with a second kill on Reyna. Steel played more of a silent lurk role this round, but he didn't waste time while doing it. By cutting off the rotates through mid, it made it so the enemy's only way to assist A site was by rotating through spawn. Then, after regrouping, made it very difficult for the enemies to take control of ramp for the retake, because he was coming in from T-spawn. That was just one round though. Let's take a look at another round where Steel came up big. This next round, Steel is actually going to be playing towards showers on buying. Something I really do want to point out in this round that I really wouldn't recommend to most players is Steel actually has the bomb in this round. Generally, when you're lurking, it's probably not the best idea to carry the bomb, just because if you do get caught out, it can be very detrimental for your team. It's important to remember just because something we do works doesn't always make it the right decision. It probably wasn't a good idea for Steel to have the spike here, however, it does end up working out well in his favor. The actual reason Steel has the spike is because matchmaking is messy sometimes, even in Radiant, and his team kept neglecting to pick up the spike this game. So although it wasn't the best decision for his team, it's probably better than no one having the spike. Anyway though, starting out in the clip, Steel is going to be approaching A site through showers. The reason this is a relatively safe approach so far is because of his team's aggression on B. It's important to remember when lurking that if your team does not have pressure anywhere else, it's going to be a lot more dangerous for you to advance through the map. If Steel just tried to walk out of showers before his team made any noise on B, he'd likely just get shot in the face, because the enemies had not been given a reason to stop watching showers yet. Because of his team's failed aggression on B though, Steel decides his only option now is to try to take control of A site off the back of the distraction that they had on B. Realizing A site is the only chance of winning, Steel makes his way out of showers where he spots the enemy Cypher sitting behind truck. After Cypher tags Steel with his camera, Steel knows that he does not have time to pull the dart out. Steel attempts to time his peek on the Cypher immediately after the dart ticks in an attempt to catch him off guard, and is quickly able to deal with the Cypher and immediately turns his attention towards the Brimstone in Heaven. Off the back of this play and his teammates rotate towards A site, his team is able to pick up a win on an unlikely round due to Steel's efforts. The main thing I wanted to showcase here is something really amazing that lurks bring to a team, and that's options. Had Steel been grouped up with his team towards B site and their push got stopped, there's not really a fallback option for them to execute on. But because Steel had pushed up in showers this round, his team at least had territory elsewhere and was able to find some sort of entry onto A through some really clean gunfights. Optimally, this is what you want your lurk player to provide with information and options. Both of these lurks from Steel were played fairly quietly though, so let's take a look at what a little bit of a louder lurk would look like. To do that, we're going to be looking at a professional match from the FaZe Clan Invitational Tournament where Sentinels showed off a very effective lurk on the map Split. It's important to mention this tournament took place back in August, however the tactics used in this clip are still incredibly relevant and used today. You'll notice Dapper is going to start out the round by placing a camera on the entrance of A and scouting to see if any players are on ramp. Because he doesn't see any players ramp, he knows that they must be watching the cross from either Heaven or A site. By using the cage on the entrance towards site, he denies the enemy's info on whether or not any players have crossed towards ramp. The problem with the enemy team here is that they don't know whether or not Dapper has crossed into Heaven, and because he could have, they need to play as if he did. After activating his cage, you'll notice Dapper actually pings on the map for his teammate to smoke a heaven. Because of this smoke in heaven, both Jet and Omen have both been posted up waiting to see if Dapper will push through the smoke or not. The reason this lurk is so effective though is because Dapper isn't even in ramp. He's running up sewers right now to regroup with his team. Because of some clever utility usage, Sentinels was able to pull some rotates and make a win out of an unlikely round for their team. The beautiful thing about setting up defaults for lurks like this though is that players will oftentimes get comfortable around them. Look at this example from later in that same tournament game where Dapper has been setting up these cages every round. Because of their lack of information on A site, Omen decides he's going to push up ramp in an attempt to clear it out so his team can make more of an informed decision in this round. This happens to be the round where Dapper actually decides to push up though, and he's able to find a kill on an unprepared Omen. But not only that, he's able to use his ultimate ability and reveal all enemies on the map as well, basically securing the round for his team with just one pick. This is why lurking can be so effective. It keeps your enemies on their toes and makes your team less one-dimensional. But remember, lurking is just one part of the game, and if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, you should check out SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. We put a ton of effort into this video to make sure that it is the best guide on how to lurk effectively in Valorant. So make sure to show your support by liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell icon to get more premium guides like this one with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We also want to know your opinion on who you think is the strongest lurk agent in the game. Let us know in the comments section below. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.